thank you, everybody, once again for joining us today.
All right. Hey, thanks, Mauricio. Guys, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us. And like Mauricio said, we're going to get right into it. We got Ken Jenson here on the call with us today. And thank you so much. I know it's a busy time of the year to be on the call, so it means a lot to us that you guys are here. Now, some of you are a little new to this process, so I just want to just very quickly tell you that we are a home care company, and we specialize in two great things. One is sending caregivers to seniors' homes. And these caregivers go to the home and they take care of things like dressing, bathing, walking, getting to the doctors on time, sometimes just watching a movie together, reading a book. It's whatever that senior needs in order to be able to thrive at home. Now, when home is not ideal, then we help seniors find an assisted living, a boarding care, an Alzheimer's care unit, all of these communities and homes that are privately paid where the senior can go and live there. And a lot of times because they want to still have a great social life, or home is dangerous. There's a lot of slippery surfaces. It's too big. The senior is lonely. And even affordability. As Ken will talk a little bit about his clients, we have clients that have us in their homes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that bill can be, well, often is over $10,000 a month, much more than that. So for some seniors that need that level of care, going to an assisted living could be the best thing for them. And those are the two things that we specialize in. And obviously as you're going through the discovery process, we're going to dive in a lot deeper into each of those business models. We'll dive into our support structure and everything like that. But I think what's really important at this stage is for you to hear from our franchise partners, and I'm really excited to have Ken Jenson on the phone with us today. Ken is a graduate of BYU University. He's had a very, very interesting background. He's had a lot of success. Started out as a stockbroker and then a very successful entrepreneur. And he'll tell you a little bit more about his story and where he was before he acquired the Amada franchise, and then what's happened since. And a couple things about Ken that says so much about him is he has 10 kids. He actually beat Chad Fotheringham, who has 7. So 10 kids. They're just an amazing family. And he was the second franchisee of Amada Senior Care back in 2012 when we were looking at each other going, is this really going to work? You know, we were thinking we had one franchise partner, we had another franchise partner, and Ken has been absolutely instrumental in our growth. I seriously, let me tell you, I do not believe we would be where we are today if Ken Jenson hadn't joined us back in 2012. Many of our franchise partners go and spend time in Ken's territory. As soon as they sign the franchise agreement or shortly thereafter, they'll go and spend time with him because he took what Chad and Tafa were doing and he executed that, but then he also came up with his own brand of marketing and care and how he does his business. And it's really cool to see our franchise partners be able to do that, to create sort of this own flavor to what they do, and he's become incredibly successful out there. Ken, without further ado, take it away and let's talk a little bit, if you will. Let's start with kind of where you were before Amada, how you found us, and take us through that experience.
Okay, so a lot of people ask me all the time, where were you when you started? You know, how deep was your medical experience? Blah, 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 blah. And I owned a construction company, and we did military construction all over the country. And we got to a point where our government stopped having budgets, and so I was in an industry that was billing $1 million a month, or I owned a company that was billing $1 million a month, and 2 months later we had 0. So I said, oh my gosh, I need to find something new. And so I was looking for something that I knew that I wanted to work with families because I loved that part of my job before, and the opportunity to give people employment. And that's always been a great thing for me because I can always help improve people's lives. And so I loved that idea. So I looked around, and a friend of mine said, hey, you ought to look at senior home care. And I thought, I don't even know what that is. And so I thought, okay, I'll look at it. And I looked into it and realized, wow, that seems like a kind of an interesting industry. And I was at that point, I was reading an article at Sports Illustrated, and it was about Phil Knight, the owner of Nike shoes. And one of the questions they asked him was, how come you've been so successful? And his response was, I hit the baby boomers at the exact right time. It was pure luck. And so I started a shoe company, and it appealed to baby boomers, and it's been an absolute rocket ship. And I thought, I can do that, and this is the right people, and this is the right industry, and this is the right group of people that I want to be involved with. And so I decided, I went to the Discovery Days with 2 different companies. One was Homestead, and one was Visiting Angels. And they were in Denver, so I drove up to Denver. I live in Colorado Springs, and spent 8 hours there. And at the end of the day, the goal for both of those companies was to make about $100,000 a year and have a territory that was about as big as, 120,000 people. And I thought, okay, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to tie my hands to this. That's crazy. And so I decided against doing a franchise, and actually bought they call it an agency in a box. I bought it's cost me $1,000. If anybody wants to buy it, I'll sell it to you for $500. It's a grand slam, put you in business immediately. But so I decided that's what I was going to do, and I was going full bore ahead with that. And somebody called me up one day and said, hey, there's this new company, you ought to look at it. And I thought, okay, I'll give them a look. And it was Amada Senior Care. So I looked them up on the internet and called the phone number, and I said, hey, my name's Ken Jenson. I'd like to talk to somebody about a franchise opportunity. And the girl says, well, yeah, we'll let you talk to Chad. So Chad answers the phone. He says, is this Ken Jenson from from Valencia, California? And I'm thinking, how would anybody know I used to live in Valencia, California? I have lived in Colorado for 15 years. And I said, yes. He says, this is Chad Fotheringham. And I thought, oh my gosh, I had been Chad's youth leader when he was 16 years old. And just a great, great, great young man. You've all met him. He's awesome. And so I thought, Chad, well, tell me what you're doing. So he started explaining to me what he was doing. I said, I will fly down there and I'll be there tomorrow. So I flew down and had my own personal discovery days for 3 days. And I was hooked. I mean, I thought, you know what? I know nothing about this industry. And they taught me everything. I knew nothing. I didn't even know this industry existed 3 months before I started Amada. And so it's been the greatest thing I've ever done, literally bar none. I was talking to my brother today, and I was saying, you know, my life has made a 180-degree turn, and I love it. I love my life. I love what I do. Every day I get to meet people that are excited to see me, and they want, in fact, I was delivering some stuff to one of my referral sources, and the girl looked at me, she says, you know what, I want your life. You walk into an office building and everybody cheers that you're here. I mean, it's great. And so I love what I do. When I started, I was the second franchise, and we have literally blown up. We are now going to bill $5 million this year. And I am so excited about that. And I have an unbelievable office staff. I have 250 caregivers that work for me. And, you know, that with that kind of that many employees, you know, it has its headaches. The fact that they're all women brings a different set of headaches, but it's all good. It's all good. And it's been an absolute, every month, I don't think, and you know, Marcos, you'll be able to see, but I don't think that there's been very months where I've dipped down below the previous month. I think it has been pretty much, you know, maybe in the very beginning, but it's been amazing. The people I deal with are amazing. My clients are incredible, and they have life stories that are so much fun. And the thing I love about my job is I walk into a family's home, and 90% of the time they're in crisis mode. Something's happened. They don't know what they're going to do. They are freaking out. And by the time I leave, everybody has a game plan. Everybody knows exactly what we're going to do. Everybody is calmed down, and they pay me to do it. It is amazing. People ask me all the time, well, how did you learn so much about this and this and this? Really, a lot of it's common sense. I've owned my own companies for 25 years. And another question I get asked all the time is, well, yeah, but are you working 90 hours a day? And you know what? There are days when you put in long hours. But you're an owner. And that makes all the difference in the world. There are days when, you know, I mean, I've coached Little League for 30 years. I've coached basketball. So this will be my 31st year for coaching basketball for my kids. And so I have time to do anything I want. And I can arrange my schedule to do anything. The most clients I've ever signed up in one day was 13. And I walked in and handed my partner 13 new clients and said, good luck staffing those by tomorrow morning. So it was you know, it's been an unbelievable ride. People ask me all the time, would you do it again? And my answer is I would do it in a heartbeat. I would never, ever look back. I've learned things from Amada and with working with Chad and Tafa that you don't learn. That you get that experience that nobody else can deliver to you. And that's a huge benefit. I have a friend of mine that lives in my same city that we talked about home care. He originally wanted me to just sign up under him, and he would teach me how to do it. And so you know, he had a home care company, and he had owned a home care company, and he sold it after about 4 years. And he started, and he had 3 clients after his first year. He had like 12 clients after his second year. After his third year, he had about, I think, 30 clients, and when he sold his company, he had about 50 clients. And so he was all excited that he wanted me to do the same thing. I had, I think, 80 clients after my first year, and we have well over 200 clients now. And so it was just one of those things that he just had no concept. So after he sold his company, he did something else for 5 years, and he came back and restarted a home care company. And he's one of my competitors now. And he's right here in the same city I am. And the funny thing is one of our people left our company and went to work for him, and we found out that after a year he had 3 clients again. So
wow.
The system that we have is so much better than what they have. But he has no support. He's on his own, and it's hilarious because I see him all the time, and he is blown away. He can't grasp the concept that we are billing over $400,000 a month right now.
That is incredible. Ken, you hit on a couple things, and I know a lot of the folks on the call today are folks that have a rich sales background. You talked about how it is chaos when you get to the family's home. Can you tie in the marketing strategy? A lot of folks, when we start talking, they go, well, tell me about, you know, Google and pay-per-click and how do you get your clients. Talk a little bit about the sales strategy of how you get your clients and why it is that it's such chaos when you reach them. Why they don't know what to do.
Well, so typically the client is you know, is the oldest daughter in the family, and she has just gotten a call today, yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, from the hospital that says, hey, your mom broke her hip. She's going to be discharged in 2 days. You need to have home care in place. Typically, people don't even have a concept of what home care is. And so they're in desperation mode thinking, okay, first of all, what is home care? And second of all, how do I find a good company? And so you have to constantly be, you know, I do a lot of personal marketing. I go visit probably 60 of my referral sources every single week on the same date every week. And I meet with them, I talk to them, and I let them know exactly who we are and you know, and how we're handling their referrals, how the people they give me are, and it makes a big, big difference on how we market. I do not sit in my office ever. I have a Monday afternoon meeting every Monday between 1:30 and 3, and that's usually about the only hour and a half that I'm in my office. Typically, I'm in my car. I drive 200 to 300, well, maybe 150 to 300 miles a day. The most mileage I ever put on my car in one day, I think, was 420 miles. And it's just driving between signing up new clients, making deliveries to my referral sources. We have tried everything. We've tried TV, we've tried radio, we've tried print, we've done everything, and I have found that the most effective way to market is my personal marketing to my referral sources and finding new referral sources. And how do I do what I do? One of the offers that I would give anybody on this call is if you join Amada and you want to come spend a week with me, you are welcome to do it. You just ride along, and we have a riot, and you'll learn everything I've ever done, and you'll probably be bored to tears, but at the end of the day, you'll at least know how I do my business. We had a trip a couple of months, well, no, it was last year, and the 5 top franchises were on the trip, and one night we were sitting around the table talking, and we realized that all 5 of us had built our businesses completely different. And I thought that was amazing, because I think what everybody needs to understand is you need to do what you feel comfortable doing. Now, if you're old, fat, and bald like me, you're guaranteed to be successful.
Why is that?
Because no stress, no threat. No threat. I am non-threatening to everybody. They all look at me like their grandpa. It's awesome.
Well, by the way, that is an interesting topic, because so many of our franchise partners come from a sales background, and yet you talk about the non-threatening. When you talk about a sales background, a lot of people think about, well, like the stockbroker, the high pressure, the slickness, or that you've learned a bunch of closing lines and you have this closing strategy. So what is it really like being out there and quote unquote selling?
In my area where I live and where I market, I never ever sell. I am constantly I help people with information. I help people understand what we do and how we do it, but I never push anybody. In fact, I get people all the time, they'll say, hey, we spoke 2 months ago, I really need your help now. Mom is really taking a turn for the worse. I would rather do that than push somebody when I'm meeting with a family and have them sign up and then cancel. I just don't do that. And so they appreciate that. The other benefit is when you're an owner of Amada, you can look at the son or daughter and grab their hand and look them straight in the eye and say, you know what, I own this company. I promise you we will take care of this, your parents. And you solve 90% of the issues right there. Most of the competition that we deal with is they're salesmen. They're marketers. And you know what? They can never say what you can say as an owner. I will tell you, people say all the time, well, you probably have no competition in Colorado. When I first started, there was a guy that, he was in a government office, and I wanted to meet him, and so I walked up to him at a meet and greet thing, and I said, hey, my name's Ken Jenson, and I own a new home care company, and I really want to meet with you. And he looked at me and he rolled his eyes. He says, okay, yeah, all right. And he walked away. And I am just, nobody ever does that to me. I was like shocked. I said, wow, that was crazy. So I called him 50 times, never got a call back. Finally, I saw him about 2.5 months later. And I said, hey, Kent, I want to meet with you. I own Amada Senior Care, and I want to meet with you and talk to you about my company. And he looked at me and says, Ken, there are 83 other home care companies here in Colorado Springs. I will give you 10 minutes tomorrow and allow you to talk to me for 10 minutes. But that's it. And don't be late, because if you are, we're not meeting. And I thought, oh, wow. So the next day I was there. I was 10 minutes early. and we sat down and we talked for an hour and a half. And after talking for an hour and a half, he looked at me and says, "Oh my gosh, you guys are going to blow this thing away." He says, "You are going to blow up." And so I was excited. I thought, okay, yay. And now he's one of my biggest referral sources. He refers us all the time. And us over the other 80, now there's probably 120 here in Colorado Springs. And so the thing I'll tell everybody is no matter who's in your area, you have no competition. Nobody does what we do, and nobody does what we do and how we do it. And I hate to get into specifics because I don't want to create my own competition. But I will tell you that if you sign up with Amada and you want to come out and spend a week with me, you are welcome to do it. And it will be the funnest week you've ever had. And you'll see exactly how we do it. You'll see exactly how I treat my clients, how I treat my referral sources. You'll see every one of my referral sources because I visit every one of them every single week. And so it's well worth doing. I had somebody out here from Massachusetts. I had Paul out here from Massachusetts.
Yeah, that's right.
He got to see our Monday afternoon meeting. He got to see exactly how I run my office. He got to meet all the people in my office. So when he starts, he knows, hey, if I have a billing question, I don't call Ken because Ken is clueless on anything operational. I need to call Carol. Or if it's an office question about insurance, I don't call Ken, I call Danny. Or if it's something on this thing, I can call Natasha. Or if it's a scheduling issue, I call Teresa. And
right.
So, he knows exactly who to call. And because he's met them all, and he knows them. The other thing is, too, is people ask me all the time, well, how many office staff do you have? I am a big believer in having the ability to grow. And so my office staff is probably a little bit high, but I want to do $1 million a month. That's my goal. And I told Chad that the very first time I met him. I said, Chad, my goal is to do $1 million a month. I want to do that. And that's where I'm headed. And that's where, at that point, we'll see where we want to go from there. But I have 4 schedulers. I have an HR person that does all the hiring. When I first started, I did all the hiring, and I did all of the intakes of new clients. And so I also have I have a personal assistant who helps me tremendously because we've just gotten so big. I have Danny as an office manager. I have a biller. I have a case manager.
Well, let me mention, Ken, Danny is one of your boys.
Okay, he said he was living on a boat and had no debt, and I called him up and said, Danny, I need your help. My office manager just quit, and I need you to move to Colorado and be my office manager. And he said, no, I am not moving back to Colorado. So I made him an offer, and he called me the next day and said, all right, I'm coming. And I think that when he came back, I think he thought, I don't think I'm going to like this, but I think he loves it. It is the greatest. We help so many people, and the letters that we get about what we do and the notes and the cards thanking us for what we do is so incredible and so much fun. And it's just, one of the things, I was a stockbroker with Merrill Lynch. And it was a pretty empty feeling. My kids would say, what do you do, Dad? And I'd say, oh, I move money from one place to the other, and they pay me for it. And although it was a very successful opportunity, it was zero. It had zero heart value. And what I do now is a grand slam. Done. It is the best thing I've ever done.
The chat box. So cool. And I believe I have a raised hand here by Laura.
So fun to hear your story. So, and I will tell you, sir, you are selling yourself quite a bit. You might not realize it, but so I guess I heard a couple questions, but I heard one thing. As I put myself in the place of the oldest daughter, it sounds like you really are kind of selling a plan for them. When you think about you're solving their problem and it is a crisis, and so I just ask you to speak to that a little bit. As you really think about each and every one of those interactions, if you feel like you're walking away with a trusted plan. Is that kind of, what would you say?
Yeah.
If you're successful, if you've sold that trusted plan, or?
Yeah. So what's really interesting, I think now over the last 4 years, over 100 times, I have been one of many to go into a house. You know, they have 3 or 4 different companies. I've even seen other companies' brochures where I see them, they're on the table. I see Right at Home and Home Instead and you know, Visiting Angels and all of them. And in fact, I was training a guy. I wanted him to become a salesman for me. And we sat down with a family, the oldest daughter, and we were talking about her mom. And at the end of my little presentation, you know, just how we do what we do and who we are and who we hire and how we find our caregivers and all that, she looked at me and she says, okay, let's sign up. Let's do this thing. And he looked at me and he says, well, can I ask some questions? And she said, sure. And I'm thinking, what are you going to ask? He says, how in the world did you just decide to go with him? You have 4 brochures right here. How did you choose him? Was he the cheapest? She says, no, he's not the cheapest, but he makes it so easy. He takes all the worries, all the concerns, all of my questions, and you can tell he knows what he's doing. And this happened after I'd only been in business for about a year and a half. And so, I mean, you just learn so much. And you learn what the worries are, the concerns are, and you just say, hey, this is our plan, this is what we're going to do, this is how we can do it, this is how we can make it work for your family, and they love that. They absolutely love that. So out of the 100 people, out of the 100 families that I think I've gone up to competition, I honestly think that I have gotten every single one of those clients. Maybe one I didn't, but I honestly believe, because I know most of the time they call me back, and I still have probably 50% of those clients that are on staff and working for me. I mean, I'm working for them. They're on schedule. You know, we're taking care of them, and so a lot of it has to do with you're competing with, you know, 22-year-old kids. Nothing wrong with a 22-year-old kid, but they're 22-year-old kids, and it's obviously a sales situation, and I'm not in the sales mode.
Mm-hmm. So, oh, go ahead, Laura.
Well, I mean, so I think so that's good. I get that, but there's something else because there's the execution side, which is you can do all of that, but if the people who are your home care providers don't deliver that same charisma and concern and stuff like that, then it all falls apart. So maybe you talked about your staff. Tell me a little bit about your relationships with the home care providers and how you motivate them, and how do you ensure that that solution that you just sold, which you're not selling, right? You're created a plan, but tell me how they're engaged in delivering that too.
So I used to hire 100% of my caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really funny because even at that point, I still had schedulers, and my schedulers will call me up and say, we can't get anybody to fill this shift. And I say, oh, I'll call somebody. And I call them, they say, oh, yeah, I'll take it. And then I call the scheduler back and I'd say, Susie's going to take that shift. How come she answers to you and she won't answer us? I said, because I'm always nice to her. But I meet with every single one of our orientations on Friday. We do orientations on Friday from 10 to noon, and I meet with every single group, and I talk for a half hour. And I tell them who I tell everybody they are. I explain to them what I tell our clients, what they're going to do for them. And I explain to them that, and I give them examples of, hey, if you went to dinner last night and you got your meal and it was garbage, and then you got your bill and it was expensive, would you ever go back to that place again? And they all say no. I says, you need to understand that every single day you're in a home, they're looking at you to see if you give them value. And I explained to our caregivers exactly who I tell our clients they are. And you know what? That's helped a ton, because they feel like, you know what? He trusts us. And I do. I trust him. And I tell them that. And I'm also there to protect them. And they appreciate that. So it's learning what that process looks like. I don't know what Amada tells you, but I would tell everybody, if you're going to buy an Amada franchise, one of the things you have to understand is every day you have two decisions. Do I go market or do I do operations? And if your choice is to do operations, your chances of being successful are not very high, because operations will never keep your doors open, and you need to be selling every single day. And I think it's smarter to hire somebody to do operations. That way you can be selling every day and make it work. I think trying to do both, there's no way I could have done both. I started in July. We got our license by about November, and we got our first client on November 30th, because I'll never forget that. So excited. And by January, we were billing almost $60,000 a month. So we blew up, and it's because I could be out selling every single day. And so that's critical, I think. I think you can't get bogged down in the minutia of scheduling. You can hire, because if you're out and about, you can find caregivers. That doesn't stop your marketing. But if you're trying to do all the marketing, all the hiring, all the scheduling, all the billing, something's going to drop through the cracks. And typically the thing that drops through the cracks is billing, because you get home, you think, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow, and that's when it becomes a nightmare. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents. I think that, I love Amada, and I think that they taught me things that it would have taken me years and years to learn. And you know what? The great thing is I've been able to build my business my way. I do things differently than the normal person. And like I said, the top 5 franchises, all 5 of us have done it completely different. And I think everybody should look at that and say, wow, I don't have to do it exactly. I can have my own personality and do things the way I feel comfortable with it and make it work, and it will still work. And that's, to me, the key.
Hey, Ken, let me follow up on something that Laura asked about, which is the caregivers. So, because there's another 2 questions on here from Terry. Thank you so much, Terry. And it's funny, Terry and Dave, you guys both asked your questions at the exact same time about retaining good, high-quality, dependable caregivers, and how do you find them. So if you could just talk about how do you find them, Ken. I think you talked a little bit about retention, but also I don't want people to misunderstand that regardless of your selection process, things are going to go wrong. You're going to have to deal with issues from the caregivers, and maybe you could talk a little bit about how dealing with the crisis, dealing with the issues also is a huge growing opportunity for your company and for the client relations.
Okay, so as far as caregivers go, we have 250. We hire 6 to 8 caregivers every single week. Every single week, we hire 6 to 8, sometimes 10, sometimes 15. Every week. You have to understand you're in an entry-level position, right? The girl that you're going to hire tomorrow, and I say girl because we have 250 caregivers. We probably have 241 females and 9 males. Yeah. So it's typically a female. I personally do not hire 18-year-olds. I don't think you can be successful doing that. Most of our oldest is 81. Our youngest is, I think, 25-ish. We try to get a bulk of our caregivers. I love caregivers that have gray hair. To me, that they're awesome because they understand our clients better and everything. But we find them everywhere. One of our caregivers, we were eating lunch, and she was a waitress. And I looked at my HR manager and I said, so would you hire her? She says, no, she didn't really look me in the eye. I said, I'd hire her in a heartbeat. She smiles, she's happy, she's cute. I'd hire her in a heartbeat. So we hired her, and she's still with us. We get caregivers everywhere. We find them on mycnas.com. We find them on Craigslist. We find them on Indeed. We get them everywhere we can. It's a high turnover rate. I mean, let's be honest. You can go work at McDonald's for $8 an hour. I start all my caregivers off at $10 an hour. So everybody that works for me makes more than minimum wage here in Colorado. And sometimes they make $12 an hour. But you know what? sometimes they're sitting there and they're changing some guy's diaper and they're going, okay, this not for me. I would rather be flipping burgers. I get that. I totally understand that. And I tell every one of our classes, our orientation classes, I say, you know what, if you get there and you realize, wow, did I make a mistake? I said, just be an adult, finish your shift, don't walk out in the middle, and then we'll replace you. And you know what, they appreciate that. Because it isn't for everybody. And you know what, you have to understand that. And you're going to go through caregivers. We probably have hired 3,000 to get to our 250. But it doesn't bother me. We hire 6 to 8 every single week. And that's the goal of my HR manager. She knows every single week she's going to have to get that many new caregivers. But to be fair, we sign 6 to 9 to 10 new clients every week too. So that's why we're growing so fast, is that we're bringing in new clients every week. And so we have to have caregivers every week to cover them. As far as disasters, I think the way I would explain it is I was listening to the radio the other day, and a guy was talking about his dry cleaner. And he said, you know, about 5 years ago, I used to drop, my buddy and I, we would take in our dry cleaning every week. We would stop on the way to work, and we would drop off our dry cleaning. And then we continue on to work. And we did that for 2 years. And one time, right before Christmas, I went in to pick up my dry cleaning, and they had lost it. It was gone. And I thought, oh, my gosh, what are you going to do? And they said, we'll just replace all your clothes. He says, and so they paid me the value. I told them what was in there, and they paid me for all my clothes. And so we continued using the same dry cleaner place, and everything was great. And then we had a dry cleaner move right into our building. And he said, so my buddy switched immediately because it was more convenient. She knows right in my building. I could drop it off, not have to worry about stopping on the way to work. He says, are you going to change? And the guy looked at me and says, there's no way. I will never, never change from that dry cleaners, because when there was a catastrophe, they stood by me and they took care of me. And you know what? There are always catastrophes. But my clients know if something's wrong, they can call me and I will fix it. Every one of my clients has my personal cell phone number. Every one of my clients knows that they can call me 24 hours a day and I will answer the phone. And so they feel very comfortable, and the daughter knows that she's out of state and something happens and she needs to get a hold of me. She knows she can. And that's worth its weight in gold, because we're not perfect. We try to be perfect, but we're not. And so when we do make mistakes, I tell them, if you'll call me and tell me, I can fix it. If I don't know about it, I can't do anything about it. And they love that. And so that's how we deal with things here in Colorado. We know that we expect perfection, but we know that when we make a mistake, we're going to take the client's side and fix it. And you know what? That's how you build your clients staying with you forever, because they know, hey, there might be another company that may be $1 cheaper an hour, but they know that Amada in Colorado is going to take care of them no matter what happens. And we do all the time.
That's awesome. Hey, Mauricio, could you unmute Dave Dorn from Salt Lake?
Dave, are you with us?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Right on. Hey, great dialogue. I love it. I've actually looked at a couple senior care franchises in the past, and I'm pretty excited about it. I guess my big concern here is, what are the future trends? If there's 83 or 100 different, home care facilities or franchises, businesses out there, what are the trends long-term with the baby boomers, and how do you differentiate yourselves over the other 99?
Well, I go back to when I meet with a family, they're meeting with the owner of the company. And so they love that. They want to know who's in charge, and they know it's me. And they know I can fix anything. I can fix anything. The trends are exploding. I think the numbers are 100,000. Is it 10,000? Marcos, is it 10,000 people turn
10,000 a day
every single day?
65.
Every day. So it's only getting better. And the people that we're dealing with were planners. So most of them have planned for their age, their old age. Now, when the millennials get in, they're screwed. But by that time, I'll be long gone. So, no, it's awesome. And you know, the great thing is I get client referrals all the time from families that, you know, they're neighbors, and it's great. And so it's just, I look at the future as growing so fast, and getting in now is huge, because even though you say, yeah, I've got competition, I don't view any of the other companies that I deal with as competition. I even refer other companies. One of the hardline rules that I have for my company is we take nothing less than 4 hours. I have had families beg me to take 2-hour shifts, and I say, you know what, I can't do that. Let me give you a referral from a company that I know. They're a good company. They will take care of you. But I've learned in my life that it is too difficult to put that kind of stress on my schedulers when that initial caregiver calls off. And I tell families all the time, you know what, if I take a 2-hour shift, you're going to have a new caregiver every 2 weeks, and you're going to hate that. But those caregivers want to work 40 hours a week, and they're going to want to step up and take the longer shifts because it's easier to get 40 hours. So as soon as they hear that we signed a new client that has 6 hours a day or 4 hours a day or 8 hours a day, they're going to jump ship and they're going to go to that client. And you're going to call me up and you're going to be mad because you have a new caregiver every single week. And I said, it just doesn't work for us. So I give them a referral. I refer out other companies. And the other companies are blown away that I'm giving them quality clients. And I even had a client call me back a couple months ago and said, Ken, I want to thank you for giving me that other company, because it allowed us to get the care that we needed, and they took care of my wife, and it was all I could afford. And so I did them a service, and I did a service to the new company, and it worked out great.
Hey, Dave, let me throw in 2 cents here, piggybacking on what Ken is saying. One stat that we have that is astounding is no one owns more than 2% of the home care market in the United States. So think about that. There's no McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's yet. And Ken, you'll hear Ken and Kevin Fair, our franchise partner in Memphis, where they'll talk to each other, and their biggest competitor in each of their markets is somebody completely different, because there still isn't like a standard of care. There isn't a standard bearer out there in the market, which we believe that we are becoming. So that's one thing that is really interesting about today, is with as much competition as there is, nobody owns it yet.
And Marcus, along with that, is you're not buying a McDonald's, guys. You are not buying something that anybody in your area will have ever heard of before.
That's right.
And so what you are going to be doing is building your brand. You are the one that becomes Amada Senior Care. You are the person that people will recognize. When somebody says Amada Senior Care, they're going to remember you. And so that's what is so awesome about this. I will tell you that Right at Home has been in my area for 20 years. Right at Home was the biggest dog in the show. They were the top dog. They were the ones that everybody referred to. They were the ones that everybody looked at as the leader in Colorado Springs. In the last 6 months, both of the Right at Home salesmen who had been there for 10 years each quit Right at Home and left and went somewhere else, because Amada Senior Care is kicking their butt. And they are no longer the #1 team in Colorado. We are the largest home care company in Colorado now, and it's because of what we do and how we do it. So I don't care if you are saying, Ken, there's 180. It doesn't matter. Nobody's competition to you. Nobody does what you do. If you follow the Amada model, nobody does what we do. They all look at people and they don't do what we do. And so it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
That's great. I get it. I love your style. Thanks.
Yeah, Dave. Now, Dave, you had another, I think you asked about finding and retaining. You had another question down. If you want to ask it, go for it.
You know what? It's probably premature on that. I sort of get it. But, yeah, I was just concerned on margins. I know, that's probably a little early in the conversation. If you want to share, great. If not, we can move on.
Margins are, the way I look at it is I charge between $25 and $28.50 an hour to my clients and to insurance companies. I pay between $10 and $12 an hour. I have 9 women that work in my office plus Danny. So that's my office staff. I have 6 offices. I pay rent on 2 of them. And my rent is roughly $3,500 a month. I'm billing over $400,000 a month. So if you take those numbers and you realize I probably spend $4,000 to $5,000 a month on marketing, the numbers are astronomical. When you start, it's a struggle, as with anything, but when you start getting up into the $200,000 to $300,000 a month range, the growth and the money that comes in is exponential. I will tell you, in the last month, in the last 30 days, we've had 2 massive deposit days. One day we deposited $98,000, and then yesterday we deposited $75,000. So the money truly does come in, and the money is great. And I had one woman call me and say, Ken, I need to make X amount of money. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's a ton. And then I started adding up, and I thought, oh yeah, you could do that easily. Easily, you could do that. And when I went to the other franchisees and they told me that their goal for me was to bill $120,000 a year, I knew that was not the fit for me. And my goals are way higher than that. I don't know how anybody could even live on that. And so that's kind of where I'm at. You're going to make smart decisions. You're going to make stupid decisions. And it's great to have somebody to run by some of those things, because we've done it all. I've done the TV advertising and spend $60,000 and do this and that and the other. And those are things where you can call and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And I can say, well, I tried that and it didn't work at all. Or you can, whatever. But the margins are there. You can make great money. And when I'm talking great money, I'm thinking way more than $25,000, $30,000 a month profit.
Thank you for that, Ken. Now let me check if, and Dave, thank you so much for your questions. Chris, were you able to unmute, and do you still have questions? Oh, that's too bad. Chris and I talked yesterday. Chris has great durable medical equipment company in Salt Lake all the way to Pocatello, Idaho. So it'd be great for Ken, for you two to connect, and yeah, I'm sure you guys will connect later. Chris, if you are
anybody who wants to call me directly, they're welcome to. I can give you my cell phone number at 719-229-2046. If anybody wants to come out and visit me after you buy your Amada franchise, you are welcome to do that. Again, anytime. I literally, if I had the opportunity to go visit a franchisee, I would have done that in a heartbeat, because I think it will give you, it will open up your eyes to some ideas that you haven't thought of, that nobody else in your territory thinks of. And I think it's a way to almost guarantee that you'll be successful.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Hey, Brian, I see your question typed in. I'm going to be bold here and just unmute you and see if you could ask the
Brian,
question
you should
live.
be unmuted now.
Yeah, I was just curious, how much is private pay versus insurance build?
I charge 20, depending on the situation, between 22 and 25 private pay and 28.50 insurance. 25 to 28 insurance.
Does that vary in different markets?
I think that's up to you. I have people time ask me if I discount. I don't discount ever. The way I say it is, here in Colorado Springs we have a hotel called the Broadmoor. It's a 5-star resort. It is literally amazing, and it's $450 a night, and they are full every night of the year. And within a mile from that place, they have a Motel 6, and it's $39 a night, and the vacancy is always flashing. And I tell people right up front, we are the Broadmoor. We will provide you service that nobody else will even think about. And you know what? At the end of the day, the difference between $20 and $22 to the client is almost nothing. But to you as an owner, it is humongous, because that's $2 an hour pure profit that helps you cover your payroll and everything else. So that's where I'm at. We're going to raise our prices again at the beginning of the year. And you know, you start that and you fill it out and see where you are. I don't lose jobs to price, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Sorry, what was that?
Any follow-up questions to that, since we have you unmuted?
I was just kind of curious because I missed the first few minutes of the webinar, and from when I originally read through your information, I couldn't remember the full scale of the model. I mean, I've heard through this presentation that it's home care, but I don't know to what level of care, and so
we're non-medical, so we just do non-medical here.
Okay, and insurance will pay for that. That's what I wasn't sure of.
Yep. Long-term care insurance pays for it.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not and it's kind of an interesting distinguish those two, because it took me a little bit to understand that your Aetna's, Kaiser's, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Medicare, Medicaid, those quote-unquote insurances, yeah, they're not paying for home care. So what the insurance that does pay for it is long-term care insurance, which is not a government program. It is simply an insurance that any one of us can go and buy, just like any of us can go buy life insurance or an annuity or whatever it is, whatever insurance product we want to buy. And so that type of insurance does pay for home care.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Hey, Mauricio, did you have a question?
Yeah, very quickly, Ken. They were asking if you can repeat your phone number again. Some people didn't have the chance to write it down.
Oh, 719-229-2046. And if you call me, I'm about 99% sure I'll be in my car. If I'm doing an intake, I will call you when I get out. I've had 14 phone calls since I've been on the phone for an hour, so sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to get back, but I promise if you call me and leave a message, I will call you back, I promise.
Great.
Well, listen, we have been going for almost an hour, and just like Ken said, he's got phone calls. And for you guys, too, on the other side of the phone, we hate to keep you for too long. It's a really busy time of the season. So as you're going through the discovery process, obviously you know Tim Valencia is your man. You can reach out to him anytime. He'll walk you through the discovery steps. Please don't hesitate to reach out to him. You have his phone number in the emails that he sends you. And as well as, you know, Tim will be reaching out to you after this call and just scheduling your next steps of discovery process. Ken, thank you so much for doing this with us. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Have a great time and good luck. And like I said, give me a call anytime, anybody.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll sign off now. Good luck with your discovery process, and thank you for joining us. Talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye.